Anoka, Faruqee, 1993, at Norfolk. And when I look back at Norfolk, I really think about it as this moment when I went from making assignments and following directions to making art and doing what I wanted to do. When I got here, I was an undergrad at Yale, and I was making still lifes, and they were ambitious still lifes, but they were still lifes. And it's like I had all this desire and all this like ambition to put into these things, but I didn't, like, I was putting them in the wrong place, or like I had the desire, I had all of that, but I had no idea like what my work was about. So I also remember it was the summer that my brother got married, and they had two weddings to reconcile the two families, and one was in a mosque and one was in a church. And so I had to leave Norfolk for a few days to go to the wedding in the mosque. I had to choose between the two because if I went to the church wedding, I would have missed the final crits. So I went to the one that was hosted by my family, and I just remember it was just a moment where I realized I could use what was in my life and what was around me to make my work. I didn't have to just accept these conventions. So I remember being in a kind of heightened state of looking and being really overwhelmed by the patterning in the mosque. And so I came back and made a painting of that experience. And that, I think that was, in some ways, that was like the first, it was like my first painting in a sense, or the first painting that I really owned. And looking back on it, it really, you know, my work is still responding to pattern and to those aesthetics, and that's been a really just an influential thing. I don't know that I would have done it at that moment, or who knows what would have happened, but it was, I realized that I could just use, because all the other students at Norfolk were there, I felt like they were more advanced than I was. So I realized, okay, yeah, I can do this. You know, it's time.
Can you say something about what the structure was like, or just the program?
Yeah, sure. It was, we had 5 days of what were called courses, and it was very painting centric at that time. I think it's a lot more open now in terms of not being so specific to one medium anymore. But at the time it was very painting centric, and so we had 2 days of painting class, which was probably the most open format, where we, you know, our professor, who was Richard Ryan, walked around and critiqued what we were doing. And then we had 3 days of pretty structured instruction. So one was a basic drawing with John Hull, and John Hull was also running the program at the time. And we did, and then we had 1 day of printmaking with Andrew Rafferty and 1 day of photography with Laura Latinsky. And I would say those were much more like technical instruction type courses. So we were drawing from observation, we were going outside, we were, you know, in the photo class, we were like going out and we had sort of these projects or assignments that we did. Same within the printmaking class. So it was pretty structured. I mean, and the classes were all day courses, and so we were kind of accounted for most of the day. But the 2 painting classes were the most open. But you could see where anytime we talked about photography, printmaking, or drawing, it was always in service to paintings. I remember the crits being like, oh, we take photographs so we can learn composition as painters, or, you know, this thing is supposed to support your painting. And so everything was sort of centered around painting at the time. Also, the crits were pretty hierarchical, and I think that's changed a lot now. So I remember students, except for the artists being critiqued, weren't allowed to speak. So it was just the faculty who spoke. And it was a little bit like you spoke if you were spoken to. So that has also changed a lot, and the way in which, you know, the crits are much more open format. It's the media, you know, students now are working in all media and kind of going between media, so it's exciting to see the changes. But for me at the time, it was really useful. I mean, I needed that kind of structure because like I said, I was kind of following orders, and that was necessary for me at the time. But you know, I think it's a different time now, and I think that it's actually amazing, like how I still feel the same way. I did in 1993. Like, they're way more advanced than I am. Are certainly way more advanced than